Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is our coaching author interview series, and today we have Barb Klein with us. Barb, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Great to have you. Barb is the founder of Inspired Possibility. She's a certified life coach, a writer, teacher, and retreat leader from the beautiful Finger Lakes of Western New York. She's committed to supporting others in living authentically and fully, and honoring and caring for themselves, even in times of turmoil and challenge. Barb's first book, 111 Invitations. This is the book that we're going to be covering today, and it's beautiful. I just absolutely fell in love with it. The book offers a pathway to possibility and understanding, exploring the full range of human experience and emotion. The poems, prayers, and reflections invite entry into a new and deeper awareness of self, which is a beautiful blend I found with coaching work, and just taking us deeper, maybe into the bruises or the squishy places or the openings, right? The heart openings. Yeah. So it covers so much ground, which is beautiful. So before we begin, I want to start off with an invitation to our audience, because this is not a conversation that's about going quicker, learning more. This is about deepening. So I invite you to gift yourself a distraction-free experience and watch the video at a time when you can really gift it to yourself and be fully present. And that way, any messages that want to come through for you have the opportunity to do so. All right, so with that, I say we dive right in.
All right.
So what motivated you to become a coach?
So I think what drew me to coaching was in my managerial position, just noticing how I really loved the part about helping people go deeper, like you just said, connect more to their true selves and find those things within them, their gifts, bring those out and kind of gently nudge them forward to keep on going towards something. So that was my idea of coaching at the time. My boss had even said to me, because I think I had done it with him a little bit, and he's kind of like, oh, how long before you leave to become a coach? And I'm like, I don't know. I thought I was on a 2-year path, and then it just happened really quickly. And going to a workshop myself where I worked with Laura Berman-Fortgang, I got to watch people in just a weekend, like really get excited about lighting up to new possibilities and uncovering truths, where they would be like, well, I'm in the insurance industry and this makes sense, so I should do this and that, but I really want to be a music producer. And I was like, what do I want to do? I want to help people tap that, and go beyond the logical and the mundane and, see what's really possible for them.
Yeah. And I love the inspired possibilities.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah. Because when we uncover those truths, it's like the most inspiring place to come from.
Yeah, it started as Inspired Solutions, and I was like, no, I don't have anybody's solutions, but I think it's nice. The possibility. So I like that a lot better.
Yeah, beautiful. And what inspired you to write 111 Invitations?
Well, I know you and I already talked a little bit about this. So it's kind of a cool story because I was at a workshop with Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way.
Yes.
And I fully expected one of 2 other books that I had already started to come to life. And really, this book came out of nowhere. Friday evening, she introduced her idea of morning pages, which is a morning journaling exercise, which I've been doing for 4 years now, ever since then. But really, on my first day of morning pages, I found myself starting to write these pieces. I still have the notebook, and I love actually sharing that at book events with people, because it's like I'm making notes around the edges, like, oh my gosh, look, I just wrote a prayer. I'd never done that before. So it really emerged over that weekend, and it was cool because it was my 50th birthday weekend, and it just felt like a perfect time for new beginnings. And I found myself on the second morning writing a prayer for one of the young women that I had met in the retreat, and it's actually in the book now. But I knew I had to find her, and I knew I had to read this to her. And when I did, I went back to my friends and I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on here, but I know this is part of my work and these words are really healing. And so it was a healing process for me to write a lot of what I wrote, but I also did find that the words, the pieces, carried these universal messages that when I shared them with people, they were like, oh my gosh, that's my story with breast cancer, or they could relate, even if it wasn't what I was writing about. So it started flowing, and it flowed for 4 months. So I would say it came to me and it came through me, and I was in that place of openness and receptivity to listen and respond. So it kind of, then it became a 2-year process to finish it. But I always knew I didn't really have a choice. It was like this book was going to be written one way or another. And it started with a different working title and it evolved. And so I guess that's what inspiration inspired me to write it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think you shared you started on another book, and then this one was like tap, tap, tap,
Yeah.
This wants to come through. So interesting.
Yeah, it was fascinating. And this one was first titled Garden of Inspiration. And then about a year into it, or maybe not even that long, a few months in, I was like, we really need room for the stuff that isn't the sunshine and rainbows. We need room for that dark. And so thankfully the title came to me in another moment at Kripalu. Both times I was at the Kripalu Retreat Center. And, I again, just being in that space of open receptivity. To hear the messages I needed to hear. It was like, oh, okay, beautiful.
Nice. Wonderful. Do you have any favorite passages that came through?
I do. Want me to just name them or read them, or what do you want?
Ooh, let's see. I've got a couple I want to share. So you want to pick one?
Sure. I have a couple that I'd like to share with you at some point today, but one of them was like the second poem that I wrote on that first weekend. So if I can find it, it kind of speaks to the mamas out there. So this one is called Love and Let Go, Sweet Mama. And it really was the second one I wrote. Love deeply, fiercely, completely, and then let go. Our babies are not ours. No, they are carried on their own angel's wings. Their lives are their own, their mission and journey, not ours. Not ours to judge or correct. Ours simply to love and support and get out of their way. So love with all your heart, sweet mama. Then step back and watch in wonder as your child blossoms perfectly, beyond your wildest imagination, into his own being, whether it bears any resemblance to your vision or not. Trust, know, and allow. All is as it is meant to be.
Beautiful. That definitely touches me as a mom of 3 and a stepmom too.
And I think there's no harder journey than that loving and letting go, and trust and trusting. Yes,
and the part about even if it's not aligned with our vision,
right?
But there's still this miracle of life in front of us that has its own desire, however that they want to express themselves.
And their own lessons.
Yeah, and their own lessons. That's the hard part, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Well, one that really touched me, there were so many. I was like, okay, I've got to pick. I want to pick 3 for this because I had like so many. I had to whittle it down.
I love
that. I sit on the sidelines. This one says, I sit on the sidelines enjoying the view. Nothing to risk here, nothing at all. Just be an observer. Put my head down, avert my eyes. No one will notice. I like it that way. I'll never be chosen to enter the game. I have nothing to offer, no remarkable talents at all. I'm content in this land of nothing to lose. It's safe and it's cozy. I don't have to choose. Sunrise to sunset, the daily mundane, mealtimes and bedtimes, mark my days. So this is interesting because I thought, at different times, if I were to pick up this passage, it would mean different things.
Mhm.
So at one point, it might mean comfort, and I need that comfort and that safety of being on the sidelines. And then another day, it would be, why are you on the sidelines when there's a challenge that could really benefit you and other people to step into?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can relate to both of those. And actually, that came out of my own past life experience where somebody met me and they said, I'm not sure you were quite the wallpaper, but I think you really wanted to be. I was like, oh yeah. So.
Interesting. So when you wrote the invitations, did you end up, it sounds like they didn't come in sequentially.
No.
Okay, so they came in just like one at a time, and then you were able to put them together, or how did that process go?
Yeah, and that was a big part of my challenge, actually, because in 4 months, they rolled. They would wake me up in the morning, like 6 o'clock, which is not my normal waking hours, and I would write. And I think I had like over 200 pieces within the first 4 months. So that was the other question, is like, how do I know what to put in there, and how do I sort these out, and who's going to touch these, because they came through my heart, so we're not going to edit them at all. It was all that. And so they did come through in some sort of sequential way in whatever was up for me, I guess. So the other piece was, you'd get a lot that were really similar all bunched together. So I couldn't just publish them that way. So I was on a writing retreat a year later, and thankfully somebody said, oh, you could do index cards and capture the essence of each piece and then organize them. And so that's what I did. I spent that time like, all right, what's the heart of each one of these? And then I had to just go home and very quickly lay them out on the table and not overthink it. Trust my intuition to go, okay, I think these get grouped together, and then what's that section going to be called? And what could the flow be? And it was Jen Loudon who helped me pick the structure for the book, where she said, I kind of see it as a winding path, like a labyrinth. Well, there was a labyrinth in Taos at the retreat that I was at. So I was like, oh, I'm totally into that, because then it's that weaving in, and you think you're getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden you're thrown out. So that really resonated for me, and it gave me a structure that I had been resisting.
Yeah.
And a way to pull it together in a way that, makes as much sense as it does for now.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense, because I know this book is kind of, I look at it like you can just keep it on your nightstand and open it up, table of contents, and it's like, oh, begin anew. That's really calling to me. Or show up in life. That's calling to me. So I love that labyrinth was created, and you could just, it kind of helps you tune in.
Yep.
Nice.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, so another of my favorites is listen. And this one says, listen. Really listen. Deeply listen. What do I know but choose not to hear? What do I hear but choose to ignore? Listen to myself. My best answers are within me. Listen to others. What wisdom do they offer? What can I learn by listening to their insights and experience, their fears? Listen to my judgment of others. What does it tell me about me? Listen. Really listen. Stop talking. Stop thinking. Stop analyzing. Stop showing off, and just listen. For one day, 1 hour, 1 moment, what will I hear if I really listen? What will I learn? And where will it take me? I love that. Beautiful.
Thank you. What'd you love about that one, Laurel?
It takes you deeper, and took me deeper. And it is such a good reminder, because in this day and age, I feel like we're taught to output. That receptor is a tool that we forget we have. and to receive is where we get nourished and filled up and we hear. So to me, it's this beautiful invitation to
Yeah.
to listen and listen with all angles. So it's I would say that passage is a very deep coaching tool to listen from all angles. Right?
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And you'd mentioned that you use this book in your coaching. Can you say
Well, you
more
asked
about,
me that. I don't use it like one-on-one very often.
Okay.
Which is interesting. And I think part of it is I'm so close to it. There's a piece of trusting its value, I guess, for or not wanting to be egotistical and be like using it too much. So I use it in my retreats a lot. And, you know, whether it's a writing prompt that comes out of one of the pieces, or I'm just reading something to start the day. But my coach has used it with me. Sometimes as a way to kind of center instead of doing the 1 minute of silence that he usually does at the beginning. Sometimes he'll say, I want you to get your book. I want you to open it up randomly and read me what's there. And that's what I've done with friends, and that's what friends have done with me. So they know me well enough now that if I'm off center or just having a tough day, they will say, I want you to get your book. I want you to put it to your heart, open it and read it. And it's amazing how often the message is exactly what I need to hear. And I mean, there's things in there that, this is the interesting part about the book coming through me, I think. I will read things in here that I thought I didn't even know, or I didn't know till just now. And it's like, well, clearly you wrote it 2 years ago. So something
yeah.
But so I think that's one way it could be used. And just having people open and seeing what speaks to them. It may not work 100%, but it's amazing how often it's pretty spot on. I'm just gonna say a lot of yoga teachers are using it. Meditation teachers use it now, like during Shavasana as a reflection.
Yeah, oh, that would be powerful.
That's nice for that.
Yeah, that actually lends to my next question is, how could other coaches use this? So let's say they get it and they just really resonate with it. How might they use it in their work?
Well, I think the nice thing about the pieces is they all have a lot of questions in them. So it could be you're dealing with somebody who's in a specific phase of, I think it's both healing and supportive and encouraging. So there's calls to action in here. So maybe you pick a section or you pick a piece and you share it with your client, or even there's a reflection section at the end of each section, you know, that has more questions. So you could use it as journaling prompts. It could be homework. It could be within a session. Those are some thoughts I have, but how about you?
Yeah.
You're a coach too, and I know you have great ideas.
I'm thinking, because the book is so interactive, like you said, it comes with a question. So, and there can be something so powerful about randomly opening, you know, putting it up to your heart and just opening and seeing what comes in, and then using it in that way. Might be interesting too to have a client just take on a section at a time. And so like each week they do another section and see what comes through, what reactions, what objections, what anything, right?
Sure.
It's all good. What gets them to go deeper. Yeah.
I was gonna say, that's what I loved about the title when it came, was the invitations piece, because I never wanted it to be about me. I wanted it to be about the reader and where did it take them.
Yeah.
So this idea of deepening and looking within, that's what my hope is for this book, that it's a journey to get to know yourself better. Look through your own eyes, listen through your own heart, and what do you hear? What do you see?
Yeah. To me, it also offered a lot of empathy. So just the way it was worded, it was like receiving empathy from my heart, you know, in an area that might have been a challenge in the past. I'm going, oh, yes.
Good.
Like, thank you. I felt very understood at a heart level when reading it.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Because that's part of it. I really wanted people to not feel alone. And I think that was the other piece about including the challenging ones. you know, my husband was one of my editors, and there were some, he's like, could you put a happy spin on the end of that? And I'm like, no, it's not where we end. You know, it's not where we are right in this moment.
Right.
Yeah. And I say in the introduction, like some of the pieces were written maybe within hours of each other. So, I mean, there's one called Denial and there's one called Acceptance. It was part of my processing. So the Denial one is all screaming, no, it can't be like this. And then Acceptance is like, well, it is. So now what?
Yeah. Nice.
And it wasn't weeks later. It was, you know, by getting it out in the writing, I was able to move into that place much more quickly.
Do you have a message as a coach to others?
I do. I strongly believe that each one of us has unique gifts, unique talents, and unique messages that the world needs. And it's really easy to think, that's been done, that's been said, what do I have to offer? And I guess my message is, you know, nobody has lived your life experience or has your perspective, has learned what you've learned, has read what you've read. So I just want everyone to really find within themselves what is wanting to come through, wanting to be expressed, and claim their space in a life that works for them. You know, to do it your way, because there's so much messaging out there right now and so many ideas of what we need to be producing, how we need to be doing it, how we need to be showing up, how fast, how much, you know, and it all comes down to a lot of pressure. And so finding what's true for you and then owning that. Because I really think when a person stands in their own authenticity, there's nothing more beautiful and there's nothing more powerful.
What kind of program offers do you have for people? So if they want to work with you, I know you offer coaching, one-on-one coaching.
Yep.
And what else? So
in addition to the one-on-one coaching, I also do some staff retreats, which are primarily focused around they've been all nonprofit organizations, because I think the people burn out real quickly in there and they're doing really heartfelt work. Yeah. So those leaders tend to recognize the need for self-awareness, self-care, and that's what I can bring to the table. So it's not so much like strategic planning, it's how do we build ourselves up so that we can best contribute to this organization? How do we take care of ourselves? Because boy, are we being asked to do more and more and more with less and less and less. So that's one component, which I would love to do more of. And then the other thing I do is the personal retreats, women's retreats, and I'm branching out to men and women. Again, I always bring in that piece of self-care, just because I think, and I learned it in the coaching as personal foundation. So whatever you call it, personal foundation, self-care. If we don't build that up first, we don't really stand a chance at anything else that we're trying to do in the world. So whether I have a retreat coming up called Living on Purpose, which is definitely more of a little bit of a call to action, like the world needs you. What's calling you right now? How can you show up? But I also am going to bring in that piece of balance, and how do you do it in a sustainable way? And then I do a lot of women's renewal retreats, which are really, again, focused on, one of them is called Coming Home to Yourself. And that's kind of the essence of my work, because it's really an awareness that we lose ourselves as moms. Lose ourselves, you know, and you'll hear women say that. I don't even know who I am beside Nate's mom, or they'll introduce themselves that way, right? At a soccer game, you know, I'm Joey's mom. Yeah. So I recognize that women don't always stay in touch with their true essence. They become what they think the world wants them to be. And it's really hard for us to make time for ourselves and make ourselves a priority. So I love to offer that space and time where the whole weekend is an invitation and an encouragement to listen to yourself. And you have full permission to come or not come to the sessions. And it's a muscle we need to exercise of, oh, what do I need right now? Is it really okay for me to miss this? What are they going to think of me? It's okay, you know? So that's a big part of what I love doing. And I'm expanding my locations, and I'm expanding the audiences. And that's really exciting to me, because I just really, really love the retreat work, and just feel like the group offers such a nice chance to grow together and to learn together. You know, you'll hear from other people things about yourself that you don't even see or you take for granted.
Yeah, and what a great reset button for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I tell them on the first night. It's like, if I did nothing else this entire weekend, just the fact that you've showed up here, you will already benefit.
Yeah.
You know, because it's so rare that we take time set aside where we kind of disconnect and just do that deepening, do the listening within, do the check-in with ourselves, and not so much out there.
Nice. And how are the retreats structured? Typically, just on average, like days and.
Okay. I do 1-day retreats, which seem to work really well for people who don't have the time to give a full weekend. I prefer the weekend because I really like people to have a chance to step away and get that full recharge. So usually we begin Friday evening, you know, dinner time, and run till about Sunday lunchtime. So it's not too long, but it's long enough.
Yeah, nice.
And if I go to a retreat center where we have the option of giving people a chance to add on a day or so, you know, for the people who can do that, I like having that option too. Because some people are like, oh yes, let me arrive a day early and settle, or stay a day later and kind of integrate everything that we've just done rather than flying right back into.
Yeah, that is great.
But for now, weekends, I mean, I would love to get to where I can do a 5-day or something like that, because you can go even deeper.
Yeah. So if people wish to find you, they can find you at inspiredpossibility.com. And there's a newsletter they can sign up for to stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, Barb. Thank you so much for the time and sharing this gift that you've gifted the world with us today. And I'll put a link, for those of you interested, I'll put a link to the book right next to the video, and you can check it out. All right.
Thank you so much. And if anybody wants a signed copy, you can get that through my website too. So.
Oh, nice. Wonderful.
Thanks,
All right.
Laurel.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Bye.
Yeah.